Welcome to Fred the Show on WSPA Plus. We have a great guest for you today. Very excited to have Edwin McCain in the studio with us. His career dates back decades. I could not ask for more. Solitude and many, many more. Dropped his latest album earlier this year. You've been in the midst of the tour. First of all, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me. I like the way you named your show, Fred.
Exactly.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. It was either the Fred Show or Fred the Show, so we put the in the middle to see if that works.
Fred the Show is awesome.
I like it. That comes from someone in the entertainment industry. 30-something years. You've been touring. You're on a little bit of a break right now. We thank you for joining us for that.
2-day break.
2-day break? Both days.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you still like touring? I mean, is it still as fun or is it work?
I always, if I get a little crabby while I'm out there, I always just remind myself that I was a 15-year-old once who would have crawled through a river of fire to be the 55-year-old man that I am now. And that usually shuts me up because honestly, I see my teenagers sort of trying to figure out who they're going to be. And I didn't realize how lucky I was to have something that I wanted to be early and to have a path, a track, and to get a toehold in it. Mm-hmm. And to just have that, the idea and the determination to, okay, this is what I want to do. And just to have the idea is a gift. So to have, to be able to survive 35 years in this business is, I don't know, I take it as a little badge of honor, but I'm just too stupid to quit, really, honestly. If I'm being honest,
Why exactly?
What else am I going to do? I mean, I've done it, and I say that, and I've had side hustles this entire time because I'm paranoid that I'm going to lose my it's just going to go away. I've been telling my wife for 30 years, like, I don't know how much longer this is going to last. I got to have a side project, side hustle. And so I was out there clearing land and selling used cars and doing all kinds of stuff. And I've always had a side hustle, and she just laughs at me. She's like, "You're going to give me that speech again this year? You don't know how much longer this music business thing is going to last." And I don't know. I think a lot of times if you're not capable of just digging in and doing whatever it takes, I don't think you can be in the music industry. Like if all you love is the 90 minutes on stage, don't do this, because I love driving the bus. Like I drove home from San Francisco. I dropped the band off at the airport and they all flew home, and I drove the bus across the country home, and it was beautiful and it was tiring. And there was a moment where I wasn't sure it was going to make it. And all of those things are fun. It's the adventure part of this business that I love as much as the 90 minutes on stage.
You are a South Carolina own, and I'm fortunate to have been of the age, or still of the age, that I can remember you and Darius Rucker and Hootie and the Blowfish taking over in the 90s. I'm about 10 years older than you, I think, but I got to see these careers launch, and I dropped Darius's name, and that's someone you go obviously way back with. Do you go back to the very beginning, really, of your career taking off with him?
I spent my whole life trying to repay them for what they did for me. I just did a private show in a backyard in Ohio. I auctioned myself off at their tournament every year, and I do whatever I can to say thank you, because when they initially signed their deal with Atlantic Records, they literally said, "Hey, can you sign our fat-headed friend too? Because we really like him and we want to bring him on tour." And Atlantic wanted Hootie so bad. They were like, yeah, bring the fathead kid too. That's great. And so as a result, I got in the door, and I don't think I would have if not for them. There were a lot of bands in the Southeast at that time that were coming up, and Dave Matthews and Hootie were at the Vanguard, and if they hadn't brought me along with them, I don't know. It was such a gift, and they let me in the door with them, and then I had to make my own way after that. And I think that was one of those things that I'm not sure that happens in the industry anymore. It's gotten way leaner, and everybody's fighting over scraps, and I'm not sure that there's that kind of camaraderie and benevolence that we regularly shared with each other back in the 90s.
Is there any story that you can tell us, a clean version, one way or the other, that maybe explains a lot about what Darius is all about?
Honestly, what you see is what you get. Like he's so good at being famous. Like that was my kind of fatal flaw. I never really felt comfortable in the role, and I didn't want to care about fashion or any of that stuff. And I just want to sing my life. And Darius has always had his eye on the prize. And he's just really great at being famous, and it doesn't hurt that he has an instantly recognizable, singularly unique voice. Mm-hmm. Like within a syllable, it's Darius Rucker. And their band came along at a time when grunge had run its course. Everybody was tired of feeling bad about themselves. And here comes this fun band of friends that were genuinely friends that had done this the hard way by touring extensively in the fraternity and sorority houses and then in the bars. And they earned every inch of it. And that was the way it was for Southeastern bands, because we were overlooked by the industry. The industry didn't come to the South looking for bands. Like the last time there was a famous Southern band, it was like, maybe REM or something. Yeah. And that was more of an alternative thing. So, it was the Allman Brothers we looked up to and Little Feat. And anyway, that was a great moment in time. I think Malcolm Gladwell would say that they were outliers.
They, of course, you gave a lot of credit for getting your career started, and you got your career started. And I'll Be such a big hit, but was that a must hit for you?
Yeah, no, it was a last second hook shot at the buzzer. The record company president called and said, "Listen, I just left a department head meeting and everybody is saying we should drop you. And your first album only sold a couple 100,000 copies," which at that time was horrible. In 1995, selling 200,000 copies was a flop. Like 2025, they have a parade. I'm topping the charts. I sell 200,000 copies. Anyway, so now, they lay it out there and they're like, "Listen, I don't think you're ready for this. I think we're going to drop you off the label." And I was like, okay. He said, "Listen, whatever the next thing you turn in needs to be amazing." And so I had been working on I'll Be. I was sitting on my little green futon. I lived in this apartment in Atlanta, and all I had was a green futon and a Sony TV. And I was sitting there with on my green futon, and I scratched out the rest of this I'll Be song I had been working on, and I sent it to them, and I was like, "Look, I love this song. This song's gonna be great." And it was I felt great I felt really good about it, and we worked really hard promoting it, and it started inching up. Mm-hmm. And then they got it on Dawson's Creek, and it blew up. And I've never watched an episode of Dawson's Creek, and I feel guilty to this day because if it wasn't for that show, I wouldn't be sitting here. But thank you, Dawson.
That's amazing. Is it really cool to think about? Because I looked up on IMDb. Actually, I asked AI how many TV shows and movies have used your music. Did Message in a Bottle, is that one of them? Yeah,
that was the one that broke the Diane Warren song that I didn't want to do. Yeah, no, so that's a funny story too. Like
Yeah.
listen, I've had success in my life just in spite of myself. Because they brought me this Diane Warren song, and I was like, who's Diane Warren? And they were like, you don't know who Diane Warren is? And I was like, no, I'm listening to Bob Mould. I'm like, what? And so they sent me this song, and I was like, ugh, I want to do this song. It sounds like a Hallmark card. Yuck. And then they were like, well, they weren't expecting that. They assumed that of course you would take a song from a hit songwriter and put it on your album. I was like, blech, no, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. And they said, what if we pay you to do it on a soundtrack? And I was like, sure, I'll do that. Okay. Anything for money. And so I did it for the soundtrack for Message in a Bottle. And then a DJ put the song on the radio, and it started taking off. And the record company's like, guess what, fathead? That's getting ready to be your next single on your album. And I was like, I guess you guys are right. I'll shut up now. And I had to just quit, because if it was left up to me, I would have just played these obscure, weird little songs that I like and not had any commercial success at all. And I have to acknowledge that there are times where just because I love it doesn't mean everyone else is going to. And in fact, that's probably more often correct than not. I mean, I'm not a good gauge of anything commercially popular. The stuff I love is always complicated and obscure, and I realize that I'm in a business to try to appeal to as many people as possible. And it's a fine line, because I love my band and crew, and I've had a lot of guys have been with me. Some people have been with me for 3 decades. And so I have a responsibility to them to at least sell enough tickets to keep everybody fed and clothed, but also be my authentic artistic self, which kind of runs contrary to the making of dollars.
Have fun, make money, all at the same time.
Sometimes I say I'm a better bus driver. Honestly, I'm a better bus driver some days.
Well, tell me about this. You took a gap between albums.
Yeah, big one.
Years?
Yeah.
Was it just did life just happen?
I just had children, and I prioritized my role as a father over anything. And then also, if you look at when that gap was, there was huge technological changes, and streaming was becoming the thing, and they hadn't really defined what streaming was, and they really didn't just define on how we were going to monetize it. And I'm like, well, why am I going to dive into this shark infested water and just start giving away my art nobody wants to buy and not know how I'm even going to be compensated for it? Plus, like, I don't know if I have 3 children, and it's like being in a bag full of raccoons. So I was kind of busy. I was so busy with that. And again, too, I don't have very extravagant lifestyle needs, so I can survive on very little if I need to. And it was sort of a combination of those things that kept me away from the music industry in general. And then the other thing is, I didn't really feel like going out there and just churning out music for the machine. It wasn't that I wasn't writing music. I was writing plenty of music. And so I was writing music for people, friends of mine, that things would happen in their life, and I would write them a song and I'd send it to them. And so it wasn't that I wasn't being musical. I just wasn't putting it into the commercial market. And music doesn't always have to be have a dollar attached to it. To me, poetry and art and music are ways of enriching your relationships with people. And so because I write a song for somebody and I send them music, that's between me and them. And it's just as important to me as something that has a dollar attached to it. And that's just I can feel my agents and managers cringing at that comment, but I stand by it.
And we stand by having you here today. It's great to have Edwin McCain with us. Much more with Edwin as Fred the Show continues here on WSBA Plus. Back now with Edwin McCain, who is joining us today to talk about just this great music career that you have had. I want to go back to those early days for a moment because, you know, you're from the Greenville area. You know this place. Main Street in Greenville, when we started seeing you guys take off, it was the hill. I mean, it was the Hyatt to Coffee Street, and then that was it. You wouldn't go past where the Peace Center is now.
I tell people all the time, when I was in high school, my dad would say, "You can have the keys to the car, but you better not go downtown."
Yep.
And that was it, man. The reimagining that has taken place with Greenville has been exceptional. It's just amazing. And I think you have to, you could spend an hour giving credit to all the people that had the foresight to get BMW here and Hitachi and Michelin and all of the things that have occurred. And I don't know how you feel about it, and I'm sure people from Spartanburg will bristle, but when I think of the entire upstate as it's, it's all us. I mean, I don't really make a distinction with Malden and Simpsonville, and I mean, it's the upstate. It's us.
Right.
Like I've always kind of felt like we were all kind of, and I'm sure people in Spartanburg are all mad at me saying that, but I feel like we're all together in this.
Yeah.
And I've always lived here. I had a little period of time where I was just basing myself out of Atlanta just because of the airport. But essentially I've been here or in Charleston, and the transformation in Greenville and the upstate has been astonishing. And I knew we had really reached a Rubicon when people from the Pacific Northwest were moving here. Mm-hmm. And I met a couple that had moved here. They had, he was a tech guy, so he had inputted all these parameters into a search. He had gotten all computerized about it, and the search just kept coming up Greenville, and they moved here and they love it. And it makes me proud when you hear people, "Oh, we come to Greenville. We live in Atlanta, but we come to Greenville regularly for long weekends." And I just think that's hilarious. That makes me laugh. But I think it's a testament to the people, and I think also because we're young-ish, mm-hmm. we don't get bogged down in the sort of petty politics. I think that when I've personally been a part of some meetings, I don't know why, but when Greenville has a need, everybody puts their politics aside and everybody comes together and says, okay, what's going to be best for the community? And I've seen it happen enough times to know that it wasn't an anomaly, and it is a representation of how thoughtful and caring people are in this area, and that's why I live here.
I want to pop up real quick your website. It's so easy to remember, edwin.com.
We got in early. Edwin.com.
There it is. Good for you. Well played there. Let me ask you about social media. Did you jump into this, or did you have to get dragged into it?
I accidentally bumbled into social media during the pandemic in 2020. My wife was working at the elementary school, and so I was home with the kids, and I ended up bumbling into TikTok, and really because of a friend of mine is a retired Marine. He had a guy named Mike Corrado. Mike has this really great podcast, and he does a bunch of music. He has a studio in Nashville that he does around veterans who make music and active duty members that make music. Anyway, he was like, "Yeah, dude, you need to get on this TikTok thing." I was like, all right. And I popped on there, and it just took off. The TikTok thing is right up my alley because I'm as ADHD as it comes. And I think TikTok really is, whatever that algorithm is, attracts all the neurospicy ADHD people. And so I was like, hey, it's my field of bees. I finally found my people. And so I got in the mix with that, and it kind of worked. And there were a lot of people that were like, where have you been? And I didn't realize how, I was like, I've been playing shows this whole time, but if you're not in the mainstream music industry and right in people's faces, you might as well be in the witness protection program. So for the general public, I've literally been gone. And I didn't realize that until TikTok, and everybody's like, where have you been? And I was like, I've been here this whole time.
Right.
But
go nowhere.
it kind of worked out because the way our industry works is now, it used to be record sales and airplay and all this, and now it's just social media metrics. And my social media metrics started growing on TikTok like crazy. And all of a sudden, the younger generation that's running the music industry is like, hey, this old fart's got numbers. Like, we should talk to him.
Smart move right there.
Hey, Grandpa is getting some clicks. Let's bring him back online. And so here I am. And then the 90s nostalgia, I don't know if you've noticed, the 90s nostalgia has officially kicked in. I assumed it would at some point, but it really has kicked in. And there's a bunch of us that are out here playing that are, I would say, and I just finished a tour with Train, and I can say without fear of contradiction that they are playing at the highest level. They're as good as they've ever been. Mm-hmm. And Pat Monahan is an absolute total professional, and everybody in that band, they're, so why wouldn't we all go out on the road? We're all still playing at a high level. And I have friends that are brutally honest with me, and I have a deal with them. Like, listen, if I get to an age where I'm starting to suck, please just tell me, because I'm never going to know. Like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm awesome. So, I have friends that I have a deal, like, just tap me on the shoulder and go, bro, it's time to pack this in. And I will, because I don't want to be up there with people coming to shows going,
Yeah. I understand your thinking, but I think you got plenty of runway ahead. I want to get to at least one more thing before we wrap up. What's it like to go to one of your shows in that, you've got Lucky, which is a new album, but at the same time, people want the classics. How do you come up with that playlist?
I give the people what they want. The first rule of show business is you just give them what they want. I like teasing my audience, so I'll walk out on stage and go, okay, tonight I'm going to play nothing but new songs. And they go, no! Because they want, I get it. I go to, every time I've ever been to see AC/DC, I just want them to play Back in Black and then For Those About to Rock. And because I'm a hypocrite, right? Like, I mean, I understand that the way people, most of the time, people want to hear the songs that they heard first. Mm-hmm. The thing that made them love you in the first place. And it's your job to make that night fun for them. And, I slip in a few new songs here and there and a cover maybe they weren't expecting. But for the most part, I'm playing the stuff they want to hear. And that's our job, right? I mean, that's it. I mean, and I also get enough chances when I go and play like songwriter in the round kind of stuff. I get enough of a chance to play the weird, obscure stuff that I like, so I don't feel like I'm missing out, right? Mm-hmm. So,
I got about a minute or so left. Just what's ahead? I just mentioned that I thought you had about 2 weeks off. You had more like 2 days off. What's ahead the rest of the year and then early getting into 2026? I'm going to Portugal to play a show, and then we're playing with Styx and REO, Speedwagon, Styx and Kevin Cronin. But we're doing one-offs. Like, I'm doing a gig with Warren Haynes. And that, the good news with us is that we can jump genres. Like, so, like, we're out with Train, or we can go play with the jam bands, or I can go do solo acoustic stuff. And that's sort of been the secret sauce in my career, is that I'm not really pigeonholed. And like, I played at the Opry. You're like, what?
And, you know, so I'm not really pigeonholed in any real genre. As long as songwriting is a component, I can be there and play. And that's handy. And I'm gonna surprise some people and show up and play a wedding they weren't expecting me to be at, and I just do little stuff like that until next summer, and then we'll figure out what the summer tour is going to be. There's a lot of stuff on the table. There are a lot of potential options. Hopefully we'll be out with another of the 90s bands, and we'll go out there and make a lap, and I'll bus drive and wrench turn and strum my guitar for another 300 days.
From San Francisco, you had to gas up the bus yourself.
Yeah, man. I was that was a beautiful trip. If you're ever wanting to go, I would just take I-40 all the way across the country. That's a special drive right there.
Love it. Edwin McCain, thanks for being with us today. It's great to have you with us. It's great to see you still going strong. And again, you got a lot of years ahead of you, so don't worry about hearing from your friends for a while.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Edwin McCain here with us on Fred the Show. Thanks for being with us once again here on WSPA Plus.